Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're digging into something really specific, but super important in Philippine government contracts.
That's right. We're looking at Republic Act 12009.
Specifically, how it handles documents right at the bid opening. There's this strict pass-fail thing based purely on completeness.
Exactly. It catches a lot of people out if they're not prepared.
So, our mission today, understand that main rule, but also, crucially, the exceptions. Where's the flexibility?
Good plan. Because RA12009, it really hammers home the need for rigor in procurement.
Okay, so lay out the general rule for us first. What's the baseline expectation?
Well, the baseline is pretty straightforward, actually. When those bids are open, all the required documents, every single one, must be there, complete.
No ifs, ands, or buts.
Pretty much. The Bids and Awards Committee, the BAC, they don't really have discretion here. It's a checklist. Pass, fail.
And if you fail, if something's missing or maybe incomplete,
You're out. Immediately disqualified right then and there. It's quite harsh, but clear.
wow, okay, that is strict. Sets a high bar from the very start. Why so tough right at the beginning?
Well, I think the idea is transparency and, leveling the playing field.
Oh,
If everyone has to have the exact same stuff submitted up front, it kind of minimizes arguments or subjective calls later on. Sets a standard.
right, makes sense. But you mentioned exceptions. Let's talk about the first one. Electronic bid submissions. How does doing things online change the document game?
Yeah, this is interesting. It shows the law trying to adapt, With online bids, you can initially submit scanned copies of most documents.
Okay, so scans are fine to start with. That helps people maybe further away.
Definitely. Big help for accessibility. But, and this is the important part, it's not the end of the story.
There's a catch?
Sort of.
Yeah.
During the post-qualification stage that's later, after they see who might win, you absolutely have to submit the original copies of certain key documents.
Which ones specifically?
Primarily the bid securing declaration, unless you used cash, that's different, and the omnibus sworn statement.
Right, the omnibus sworn statement. That's the big one where you swear everything is true and correct, basically.
Exactly. It's a cornerstone document. So the originals need to show up later.
And if they don't? If the bidder submits scans initially but then flakes on the originals?
Then that bid becomes non-compliant. Even if they looked good initially, they get post-disqualified.
Got it. So convenience up front, but the physical proof is still non-negotiable later.
Precisely. It's like a two-step verification.
Okay, let's move to the second exception. National security procurements. That sounds like a whole different ballgame.
It really can be. Understandably, when national security is on the line, the usual transparency rules might need some adjustment.
How so?
The head of the procuring entity, the HOPE, gets the power to limit disclosure of certain parts of the procurement documents.
Like what? Technical specs for something sensitive?
Exactly that kind of thing. Highly sensitive technical details, maybe classified elements. The HOPE can decide not to release everything publicly or even to all bidders sometimes.
That's quite a bit of power. How does the HOPE decide? Is it just their gut feeling?
No, there are criteria. They have to look at the nature of the document, its classification, how sensitive it is, confidentiality, and weigh that against why someone might be requesting it.
So it's a careful balancing act, openness versus protection.
That's the fundamental tension, yes. Public accountability versus state security.
Okay. Exception number 3, alternative modes of procurement. What does that mean?
So RA 12009 isn't just about full public competitive bidding. It allows for other ways to buy things in specific circumstances. Think direct contracting, small value procurement, negotiated procurement.
Right. Simpler methods for simpler needs, maybe?
Often, yes, or for very specific situations. And the key thing is, these alternative modes often come with different, sometimes lighter documentation requirements and procedures.
Can you give an example? Like how might small value procurement be easier document-wise?
Sure. For small value procurement, if the purchase amount is below a certain threshold, the rules might say the agency only needs to get, say, one price quotation.
Just one, instead of the whole stack of bid documents from multiple bidders.
Potentially, yeah. It streamlines the process for those smaller, everyday type purchases, makes things much faster.
So that strict all documents up front rule we started with, it doesn't apply universally across all government buying.
That's the key takeaway, really. The general rule submitting everything completely at the opening is the default, the standard for competitive bidding. But these exceptions are built-in acknowledgments that one size doesn't fit all.
That cater to different needs.
Exactly. The efficiency of digital, the sensitivity of security, the practicality of smaller buys, the law tries to account for that.
Okay, So wrapping this up, for you listening, the big picture is this. Yes, Philippine procurement generally demands strict compliance on documents right at the start. Very strict.
Don't forget anything.
But there are these defined exceptions. Electronic submissions have that two-step process. National security allows for careful limits on disclosure, and alternative methods can simplify things.
Knowing these details is vital for the government agencies doing the buying and definitely for the businesses trying to sell to the government.
Right. You need to know the main road, but also the permitted detours.
Couldn't have said it better. Compliance means knowing the rule and the exceptions.
So here's a final thought to leave you with. Considering these exceptions, the digital pathway, the security veil, the simpler alternative routes, how might you, as a potential bidder, strategically think about preparing your documents? How do you stay compliant with the tough general rule while also being ready, maybe even hoping, for the flexibility these exceptions might offer in certain situations?
That's a really interesting strategic question for bidders to mull over.
Definitely something to think about. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.